pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll, Atlantis.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight outside SC off. Bring in SC off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
Yikes, you bet, concur. It's time for another NASA Spaceflight Live episode. What's up, everybody? I'm Jack Beyer. You can see my name on the thing. I'm content manager for NASA Spaceflight, and I'll be hosting today's episode. And as you can see, because it's a NASA Spaceflight Live episode, and we actually show our faces for once, I'm joined by, of course, Alex. Did I point right? I pointed right. Alex, what's up? There we go.
Okay, that was weird.
Could they hear that, or could only we hear that?
I'm not sure. I didn't hear that.
All right, well, Alex, what's up?
Yeah, a little bit of a weird intro, I guess. I'm I'm Groot. I'm kind of excited of the stories that we're going to talk today on NSF Live. Lots of things to go over.
Indeed, and also Sawyer. What's up, Sawyer?
How's it going? 24 hours ago, I was in front of the countdown clock at the press site for CRS 26, and now back on stream again for NSF Live. So, exciting weekend.
Yes, indeed. That was such a beautiful launch and a fun stream, but really just wow. That must have been a really great one to see in person.
They never get old.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for the 5x5s in chat. So we know we're coming through loud and clear. If you have any questions about the different things we'll be talking about today, just type at NASA Spaceflight into chat. You guys know the deal. We'll answer the questions in some software that Michael wrote. Speaking of, Michael is in the background, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, making the stream work. So thank you to him for that. Cool. Well, let's see. I'll get my question queue thing set up, but let's move into the first topic, which is the I was gonna mess it up again. ESA has announced a new astronaut class. You taught me. It's ESA. It's not ESA. It's ESA. I should know that. It's like NASA. It's easy to remember. I learned. But yeah, they've announced the new astronaut class. You want to tell us about it, Alex?
Yeah, it was really exciting to finally see a new class of astronauts. It's a little bit weird compared to previous classes of astronauts from ESA, because this time around they have split that into kind of two categories, where they split that in career astronauts and reserve astronauts. But also there's a new exciting thing. We might talk about that later on as well, which is a para astronaut. They talk about. Basically an astronaut with disabilities, and so the rundown more or less is they chose 3 people from the UK. Shout out to Chris, by the way, hi, and then the people that were chosen from other countries, 2 from France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, and then 1 from Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Poland, Sweden, and Switzerland. And at least to me, the most exciting part is obviously they chose finally some Spaniards. I'm really excited about that. And I don't know, like the whole range of preparations of these people. They're super well prepared, and there are I think it is 8 female astronauts and 9 male astronauts, I believe, of the total 17 of them. 5, I think it is, are going to be the career astronauts, and the reserve astronauts are going to be separate from that. Basically, what that means is the career astronauts are going to be going directly into basically training for missions, whereas the reserve astronauts, they are going to be keeping on with their jobs, and they're going to be doing a schedule checks, medical checks every year or so, but they're going to be kept sort of like in line just in case they're sort of doing a fast mission, like a short duration mission to the ISS or something like that, or if one of the career astronauts needs to retire for some reason, they can pull up people from that reserve group to be able to be introduced into the whole the whole flight rotation missions and things like that. And this group of people is expected to be some of the European astronauts that might go eventually to the moon during, with the Artemis program. That's at least what they said. We'll see if that actually happens. And I don't know, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite exciting. I'm glad you get to cheer along some Spanish astronauts. That's super cool.
Yeah, I actually know a lot of these things because they, finally I have, people that speak my own language that, talk about that. They have been all over the press here in Spain. It's been like, oh, the heroes, they are the astronauts. There in the US, obviously it's super, natural. You have senators that are astronauts and things like that. But here it's like this. They are the second and the third astronauts that we have here. So yeah, it's kind of exciting.
Super exciting. And Sawyer, did you want to touch on something?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear the excitement, honestly, from other countries, because a lot of times, it's the whole big deal of the NASA astronaut selection, and then they get selected and they go, okay, all right. But, hearing the excitement from the European partners as we get more people ready to go to space. And again, a lot of these astronauts now we're talking about are part of the next generation, with the ISS set to currently deorbit around 2030, 2031. As these guys get trained and get ready for flight, these could be people that are flying to the moon, that could be staying at Gateway, things like that. And the other one that you mentioned, Alex, that I'm personally excited about is the fact that we have the first ESA para astronaut, as it's kind of being called. And that one is John McFall, who had a motorcycle accident when he was 19 that resulted in the amputation of his right leg. So on top of that, that obviously has not stopped him from doing anything. I mean, he's been a Paralympian as well, so competed in the Paralympics. He's gone on to work in the medical field as well, and got his master's from the University of Wales, bachelor's from Swansea. So all of our UK friends will appreciate that. But I mean, it's exciting to see, as someone who flew with Astro Access, whose goal was to get people with disabilities to fly into space. This is what we've always hoped for. And I think ESA is really ahead of the game, especially since NASA has pretty much said, if you don't meet our strict medical requirements, you can't fly. ESA's saying, you know what? Let's see what we can do. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely appreciate the that sentiment and approach to astronaut selection for sure. As someone who's like not super fit or whatever, like everybody should be able to fly to space. So does this like let me look for some questions while I think of my own and try and make it not sound stupid. Let's see. First off, from Highlander, thank you so much, Highlander, for the support. And let's see. Ross is asking, how frequently do you think ESA astronauts will join Artemis missions? Because I mean, after all, ESA is making the what is it, the interim cryogenic upper ICPS. They're making the ICPS, right?
Yeah. The interim cryogenic propulsion stage, you mean? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm bad at remembering acronyms, but
I always just call it the ESA upper stage. Is probably the simplest way just to think about it right now.
The ICPS is made by ULA.
Oh yeah, no, you're talking about the
European Service Module.
The search.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
Yep.
That'll carry all the ECLS fun.
Got it. Well, okay. So Ross is asking, how frequently do you think astronauts will join Artemis missions? What do we think? Alex, go first.
I think they have allotted 3 missions, at least to Gateway, but I'm not really sure if they're actually having any allotted missions going to the surface of the moon. At least not yet, that I can remember, obviously, off the top of my head. But yeah, they have at least 3 missions again, at least to the Gateway. I think it is starting on Artemis 4. I think it is. We'll see. I'm kind of a little bit blanking there on the actual mission when they're starting, but it is 3 missions that they have under the partnership. The same way that the Canadian Space Agency has a Canadian astronaut on Artemis II. So on the first crew flight of Orion, they're gonna have a Canadian on that one. And so yeah, it's a whole partnership. We might also see, I think they also have a partnership with JAX as well for Japanese astronauts also to gateway and things like that. So it's a whole thing that they have. Yeah.
Cool deal. Good question, Ross. Let's see if I can find any more on this before we move right along here.
I wanted to mention though, this
Yeah.
came in on the heels of also a ministerial council that they did for basically to approve the budget for the next 3 years for ESA and all the partners that they have. I was actually kind of looking at the numbers here. The increase was of about 2 billion euros, from about 14.5 to 16.9 billion euros from the last ministerial council, which was in 2019. I think that actually was here in Seville, by the way, if I remember correctly. So that's that's also interesting. But yeah, it's another push from Europe in general to also put more money into the space industry, and some of the outcomes from that council was also the fact that the ExoMars lander, for example, now is going to be built by Europe. The engines are going to be sourced from the USA, but the lander itself, the platform, and all the tankage and everything, that's going to be designed here in Europe, instead of being reliant. Previously we were reliant on Roscosmos, and that was scrapped, and now they're targeting 2028 for ExoMars, for the Rosalind Franklin rover to land on Mars, and that's going to be mostly done here in Europe as well. Yeah, so they gave a go ahead on that. They also gave some small money for kind of small satellite companies here in Europe as well. And I think we also have some news about that as well coming up from the NASA side as well. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything that we saw this week from ESA.
Cool deal. Alrighty, another ESA related question. Maurice Walker is asking, will they book Crew Dragon rides for their astronauts from SpaceX directly or without going through NASA? I mean, on Artemis, they could theoretically fly on Orion, or I guess, not unless we're like going full blown launching people on Dragon to starships, I guess. Maybe they might be a part of the Artemis program, but I guess in theory, if they wanted to fly astronauts, they could just buy flights from SpaceX outside of the Artemis program, right?
I don't see why not. I mean, think about some of even the private missions like Axiom, which once they get their space station up and running, I could see them still doing that kind of deal of, hey, we'll send our astronauts to Axiom on a Crew Dragon, and hey, ESA, if you want in, we can get you a seat as well, kind of thing.
That makes me start thinking about a lot of interesting things, like when space transportation gets sufficiently advanced and boring, that the notable thing that you're doing isn't the riding the rocket into space. It's whatever job you have been sent, up to space to do, and you're just getting in a taxi or a lift or what have you, and going to space. That part's not the important part. I mean, right now we tend to focus so much on the launch. Anyways, I digress.
So when SpaceX finishes building their 5th and supposedly last Crew Dragon capsule, we know that they're just going to name it Uber now, right?
Yeah. You joke, but let's see. Sawyer, tell us about our next topic, which is NASA awards smallsat launch contracts.
Oh, absolutely. So obviously one of the biggest things right now in the space game is a lot of these small satellite contracts and these small satellite launchers. I mean, SLS had some CubeSats on it. You've got Electron, which focuses a lot on these CubeSats. And now there's another company that is getting a contract from NASA, and that is Phantom Space. If you haven't heard of them, Phantom Space was co-founded by a man named Jim Cantrell. If that name sounds familiar to anybody, that's because he was the co-founder of Vector, which no longer exists. But they are currently in the process of developing 2 rockets with Phantom, and that is called Daytona, and the other one is called Laguna. So yeah, a bunch of beaches for rockets there as well for the
Okay.
names. Yeah. So Daytona, they claim that they will be able to lift 450 kilograms to low Earth orbit. They can also do flights to geostationary transfer orbit and supposedly lunar-bound missions. Those will be approximately $4 million per launch to LEO, and that will be a 2-stage expendable rocket. But they're also working on a reusable rocket as well, and that is the Laguna, which they claim will be able to launch up to 1,200 kilograms to LEO for $8 million per launch. But the main thing is that NASA is now contracting them as part of what they call their VADR program, and that's another acronym, which is the Venture Class Acquisition of Dedicated Rideshare.
Hey, A+, you got it.
Hey, thank you. So, yeah, their main thing basically is trying to get these small sats up and running as well, and now it's another small sat launcher in the game, and that is one of 13 companies that NASA now has as part of this VADR contract this year, and the hope is that they will be able to launch their first CubeSats no earlier than 2024 on that Daytona variant. Of course, all of that depending on the readiness of the rocket.
Okay, I gotta stop you right here. Sorry. There's something slightly delightfully ironic about a company, about the founder of a company creating a space company called Phantom when the previous rockets don't exist. There's something there. Sorry. I'm being mean, but I just wanted to say that because I thought it was clever, even though I'm a jerk. Also Daytona, I just gotta say, like, launching from Cape Canaveral, the Daytona rock, it's just hopefully those are like code names or program names. Or,
well, then I wonder then if Laguna would go out of Vandenberg.
It's launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base. It's the Florida rocket. Like what? I don't. Anyways.
Well, no, that way you have Laguna go out of Vandenberg,
Okay.
so you get the West Coast, and you have
Got
Daytona go out of Cape Canaveral.
Oh, see, now you're playing 3D chess. That might actually be like a justification. Either way, both of these rockets are Carolocks. Nothing, too wild. So hopefully they manage to develop them and start launching them and get some payloads into space.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, on top of all of these crazy locations we're talking about, Daytona, Laguna, they're based out of Tucson, Arizona. So
at that point, it's just like you're stuck in the desert and you're fantasizing about the ocean and beaches.
Yeah, like the song, I've been from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Tacoma, Philadelphia, Daytona, Laguna now, I guess.
Yeah, okay. We're going to get copyright struck.
That's why I didn't sing it. That's why I said it. That's why I said it.
Oh, man. Also, let's see. The remaining Tropics flights went to Rocket Lab, sort of in the same bucket as NASA awarding small sat contracts. The remaining 4 Tropic satellites are going to get launched on 2 Electron launches.
Oh God, that poll.
What is the poll? Oh, we have a poll in chat.
You have a poll.
Most likely, I'm not even. Just go to the poll. If you want to do the poll, do the poll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Yorkshire Space Program because that's hilarious. Cool. So yeah, I don't know, anything we want to say about Tropics before we move on here?
I'll say something. I mean, it's interesting with Electron now. This is also big with Electron next month, scheduled for their first flight out of Wallops Island, Virginia, whereas all their previous launches have been out of New Zealand. So it's nice to see these small sat launchers expanding their reach and their capability as well. And I know Tropics is probably excited to get their satellites hopefully actually into space this time, as their first 2 were unfortunately destroyed on the last Astra flight. So this will be exciting for Tropics too. And again, just that small sat, the CubeSat game is ramping up.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable how many small sat launchers there either are or there are about to be. It's wild. I've sort of been just wondering for, it feels like a year or years now at this point, like when is there going to be some sort of great reckoning in the small sat field, and the weaklings be culled and the strong ones survive? It's because it's got to happen at some point. I don't know. I really do wonder how big that market is, and how many launch providers it could sustain. Speaking of, Paul Kelly is asking, any word on ABL, or are they still keeping their cards close to their chest? ABL's been trying to launch their first launch of their rocket out of what is it? They're in Kodiak, Alaska, right?
Yep.
Cool.
From the other path that Astra didn't use.
Got it. Yeah, I haven't heard anything more about anything on their side. They aborted. They had a couple different issues. They tried a couple different times. They aborted it, and now they're December 7th. There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, it felt a bit like it was sort of a scrubbalooza or something like that. We had CRS-26 scrubbing, we had ABL scrubbing, and then suddenly we had that other launch we might talk about later. But yeah, it felt like several scrubs in a row. Also the Starlink from Vandenberg as well scrubbed. It was not a good beginning of the week. Thankfully, it improved.
Yeah, thankfully we avoided a full-blown scrub member.
Well, after Scrubtobers have passed, yeah.
Yep. Hopefully we don't get a Scrub Sember. It's a dead joke, but I'm still
Scrub Mox. I don't know.
Gunfox is saying there's a rocket there. You can trust me. You just can't see it. It's because it's covered in fog. Jack from Vandenberg. Thank you, Gunfox, for the support. Why do we always have to rip on Can we ever be nice to Vandenberg? Please.
I mean, if we ignore the recent Delta IV Falcon Heavy thing where yours was clear and ours was foggy.
That was delightful.
Otherwise, yes.
In your face. Take it. Let's see here. I think that's about it for that. Oh, Casey Miller saying Daytona and Laguna are racetracks as well as beaches. So that's interesting. Maybe they went the racetrack motif there.
So then, wait a minute. And it can only carry 450 kilograms to Leo? If they could just get 50 kilograms more, then it's the Daytona 500.
Oh my God. I knew something was coming. I was like, okay, we're going to go on this journey. I'm going to just let him do it. And there we are. All right.
And see, there was mistake number one.
Yeah.
Letting me go on.
Mistake number 500. It was bad. All right, cool. Let's move on to Artemis. Orion is in its distant retrograde orbit, is it not? What's going on with Artemis? Somebody.
Well, yeah, it's there finally. It finally launched. It was, I don't know, when I saw that rocket launching, it was kind of mind-boggling. But when I actually saw these pictures of Orion getting to the moon, it really hit me. Like, it is there already, and it entered distant retrograde orbit just yesterday. I think it was yesterday, if I'm not I think it was yesterday. But first, before that, it performed a powered flyby of the moon first in order to swing by and everything. And I mean, the shots here, and we had live stream finally. They kind of fiddled with the feed from Orion as it went out to the moon for a while, and they figured out that they actually had the bandwidth enough bandwidth to actually have live views from Orion. I'm not sure if that's actually like live view from right now. Might be that live view. Yeah, okay, it's live right now.
That's
so
awesome.
That's live views of Orion around the moon and the Earth, because right now it's actually technically around the Earth, because it left the main influence of the moon is so basically the main gravitational pull right now is from the Earth instead of the moon, but it's still like, circling the moon in cislunar space between the moon and the Earth. It's a weird orbit, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's a very
and this is not like the weirdest one. This is like just a distant retrograde orbit. Here Michael is putting up the track Artemis website, but you can see the trajectory is not really that natural to think about. It's a little bit weird. But once they go to the near rectilinear halo orbit, that's going to be even more weird. I think we're going to struggle a little bit to explain that once we go to that point. Well, we already have Capstone, I guess. That also entered orbit, near rectilinear halo orbit, the final at least, that they were trying to achieve. That also happened this week as well. But yeah, you can see there, Orion is sort of approaching that right now, the farthest point to Earth. It already broke the record for farthest, let's say, capsule for humans. The record was held by Apollo 13. I'm not saying spacecraft in general, because there's like the Apollo 10 ascent stage is somewhere else in heliocentric orbit or something like that. So to be a little bit more precise, I'll say a human capsule thing. But yeah, you can see there the whole trajectory. Now it is approaching that final, like the apogee of the orbit, which is the farthest point from Earth, and then it's gonna swim by again, and it's gonna perform yeah, there we go, maximum distance from Earth, and that's when it's gonna be coming back to the moon. It's gonna swim by distant retrograde orbit departure. There we go. It's gonna perform another burn, and it will reach another return power flyby. That's going to be another flyby of the moon, very close to the surface, and that's actually when they're going to be snapping pictures of the Apollo landing sites, because when they went in from the Earth,
Yeah,
they went in.
They were talking about this on the press conference,
Exactly.
right? When they did their 80-mile passover, it was in the darkness, and
Exactly.
Yep.
when they're doing the burn to come back, it'll be in daylight, and we might actually get some shots
There
of
we go.
that site.
Yeah.
That is,
It's going to be amazing.
yeah, I'm so excited to see if we actually get some good photos of the Apollo 11 landing site. I don't even know what I'll do. I'll have feelings. I'll put it that way.
I mean,
They've
the thing is,
also-
we do have some great shots already from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, but it hits differently when you're looking at the past lunar landing sites from the
Exactly.
same capsule that will carry the next people to land on the moon too.
Yes, exactly. That's there's something
100%.
really cool about that.
Yeah.
Specifically,
They've also talked.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I was also going to talk about the performance of the European Service Module. I was kind of worried about that because it's not being used before, and also because it's kind of our contribution from Europe, and it's like it might fail because of us. It's like, yeah, NASA, they already made a bunch of rockets or whatever, but it's like, now it's our turn. So I was kind of worried that it will fail, but no, it's actually performing really well. The solar panels are actually performing, I think it is 20% more power than they needed, and they are not using as much as fuel that they thought they will use. So it's been great so far. They have had a few issues though with the star trackers, kind of getting confused with some of the thruster firings, but that was also resolved. They also had another problem with the Deep Space Network for about
they
I think,
lost contact for 47 minutes or something, right?
Exactly, and but that was eventually they basically tracked down that for
Speaking of,
for an equipment. Yeah, there we go. they lost contact. That was tracked down to a problem here on the ground instead of with the spacecraft. So yay, at least it wasn't the Orion spacecraft itself. It was on the ground.
And the other important thing with that is that the next time that Orion flies, that won't be an issue because there will be people on board that can also fly it, as opposed to needing to fly everything completely remotely.
Exactly, and they also tested the optical navigation. Some of the pictures that we got from Orion of the moon was mainly through the not only from these GoPros on the solar wings, but also the optical navigation sensor that they have. That basically is like a software camera that they point to the moon and the Earth, and depending on the size of the Earth or the moon, it can tell whether it is X distance from each body, and basically tell where in space it is, especially just by using that and some of the star tracker data and things like that. It can tell where it is without needing data from the ground. So it could, in theory, kind of navigate itself in cislunar space, which is really, really cool if I say that, because it's
Yeah. One thing about that, like, I love that they're able to repurpose an instrument that they use for flight to take photos that we can then appreciate. At the same time, like, as much as I applaud that ingenuity and being able to have a dual use for a thing, I'm just like, man, imagine if that was a really, really good camera. The views we would get would be even better. Similarly, like the GoPros on the solar wings, I think they're GoPro 4s or equivalent. I'm not sure if they're literally actual GoPros, but
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is with those cameras, they have to be built, early on in the program and then radiation hardened and tested. So by the time, with as fast as everything evolves, by the time you get to the 11 or 12 that's out now, the 4 was kind of the latest, greatest. But it's, I mean, the views, as you can see, are still amazing.
I understand why, but the spoiled person in me who has like a 4K TV and all that is like, but I want it to be better. But it's like, well, dude, that's how space works. You can't always send the latest and greatest hardware into space. Sometimes you got to send something that are known and radiation hardened and tested. Okay, yeah, they're literally modified GoPros. Thank you, Michael. Which
the
is
other
hilarious.
thing, by the way, going back to the thrusters for a second, that I find is amazing is that I believe there's 3 different types of engines that needed to be tested between Orion and the ESM, and all of them worked exactly as planned, if not better. And you've got the thrusters that are working, or the power that's working better than planned. Again, all of these different little parts that have to work, and not only are they working, but they're working exactly or better than planned, is unbelievable to me. And all this testing has finally shown that it works.
Yeah, it's such a relief that we don't have like a Starliner OFT1 like situation going on here.
I mean, you can't spell OFT1 without oof. So.
It's true. It's true. Oof. It's literally pronounced oofed. Oofed one.
Oofda.
But speaking of the engines and everything overperforming, I think at the press conference they said they had something like 500. It was 500 and some number of extra. I want to say Delta V. I'm probably completely sounding like a dum-dum here, but they had way more fuel and the ability to do
maybe pounds.
Oh wow. Okay, so yeah. It was. The capsule is performing excellently. I think we could all say.
Yes, and I think it's also safe to say at this point now that the rocket itself performed excellently as well too. So talk about systems all these years and the worries of, well, it's behind schedule, it's delayed, is this thing ever going to fly? This is why, as painful as it is to have to be patient and wait, especially when it's beyond past when it was expected, at least it's worth it in that it's doing above and beyond what we expected. And knowing now how well it's performing and the extra boosts and benefits that you can get out of it, imagine the mission planning now that you can do for Artemis 2, 3, and especially beyond as you get more and more used to flying the spacecraft, of the extra things that you can utilize that extra Delta V for, that extra power utilization for.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, we have a new
Delta
poll.
V. Oh.
The new poll is Artemis 1 after splashdown. Your options are full success, Artemis 2 is go. The next option is mostly successful, no major impact. And the final option is problem before end of mission. So go do the poll in chat if you are so inclined. I don't think anybody at this point is expecting anything to go wrong. It's going to splash down. It'll re-enter fine. Everything's going to go fine. I'm knocking on wood. I'm not even superstitious, but I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, at the same time, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, and yet Monty Python comes in. So
okay, that one I didn't see coming. Darn it. Musical Wolves, thank you for the super chat there. They say, can we see Orion with a telescope? Is that possible?
That's the separation of the ICPS.
Oh, that's a cool shot.
They uploaded all of those videos and everything. That was so amazing.
Yeah, the footage that's still been coming down is unbelievable.
Yeah, they started downloading all of these videos and everything from the launch and the burns and separations, and yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, look at it
The
just drifting away into space. That's awesome.
the question of seeing Orion with a telescope, you can see it, like, yeah, because we have pictures of, even amateur astronomers have been able to spot Orion out there in cislunar space, but it's like a dot in space, like very distant dot against the background stars and things like that. So yeah, you can see it, but it's another dot out there.
I'm sure someone could say something super poetic about that.
Pale white dot. I don't know. I got nothing. Um, where
I
is
love
it?
the solar array moves. It's just, again, the cameras on this, it's nice. It's really nice.
It is.
I know we've kind of grown to expect it, especially with something like the SpaceX webcasts or NASA spaceflight webcasts. But
Hey.
but I mean, this is just unreal, and the fact that we're seeing this on its way out to the moon as well. So you see the Earth kind of fade away and get smaller. You see Earth rise. You see moon rises and all of that with this spacecraft that's going back to the moon again. The last time that we had cameras in a capsule around the moon that was meant to carry people was 1972, and let's just say that it was amazing that they actually had some color footage at that point that could be broadcast live.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. And to your point, Paul Kelly in chat says solar wing cameras are the best idea ever. That's not what we're looking at right now, but I do think it's a good idea. It's like a built-in selfie cam.
It's amazing to me, at least. Sometimes I pop in on the live feed of views from Orion. By the way, sometimes we also pipe that into Space Coast Live, so there's a segue there as well. Yeah, and yesterday I logged in, and one of the wings was moving, and you could see one of them, and then the one where the feed was coming from was also moving. It was, oh man, it's crazy, because you can just log in at a random moment in time, and suddenly the solar panels are moving, or a thruster fires, or even the main engine swivels and things like that. It's crazy, because it's like you can see that live, whenever they have, obviously, some bandwidth for that. But I believe we're looking here at the Callisto technology demonstration that they have on board as well.
Yep, that is the interior inside of Orion, of which I would say what it's powered by, but I think about 80% of you with smart homes would get mad at me.
Do it.
But
Do all of them. Do all 3 smart home things.
Boy.
Rapid fire. Go. No.
But it does involve a certain voice assistant from Amazon, we'll say.
Yeah, whose name is similar to mine.
Yeah. And what's really cool is that there is actually ways to go on and, if it's, get your message sent on board the spacecraft. There are cameras that are taking pictures of just messages that are being sent from Earth onto the screen as well. So if you forgot to get someone a Christmas gift, or you're trying to think of one, just send up the name, take a screenshot of it, and there you go. You sent your message to space for them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think there's also there's an iPad up there as well. I don't know if they're testing.
Yeah, that's with an iPad.
Apple's. Oh, okay, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, all of those, you can also see the Moonikins in there too, which the fact that they're testing a lot of radiation experiments. So not only testing the new crew survival suits, the new pumpkin suits, so to speak, but also just, hey, what's going to happen to these people as they go out there? Is the radiation shielding good on Orion? And most importantly, what happens to a female body around the moon when we send it out, considering that every single person that has ever gone to the moon has been male? So, and there is biological differences, especially in terms of radiation exposure. So what are those differences exactly? We'll find out, hopefully.
I'm just putting some questions in the queue here.
And that's totally why I'm talking while you do that, to let you get time to grab some.
Thank you. Inside baseball. Ross is asking, what happened with all of the CubeSats launched on Artemis I? A lot of them did not do great, unfortunately. Like, I think I'm not I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it. It starts with an O, the Japanese one that was supposed to try and land on the moon. I don't think
There's two that were iffy. One that they missed their first attempt to get into the lunar orbit they were hoping for because of a communication issue, but there is a chance they could possibly save it and still conduct their experiments. That one was going to be looking at ice on the lunar South Pole to see how much there is and potential water, which would be very useful as that is considered a site for a future human settlement, especially if there is that much water there already. And then the other one, yes, was going to be one of the Japanese landers, and they had problems with communicating with it and with power on board it, and they officially declared that one as unfortunately a lost mission.
Darn it. Let's see here. Musical Wolves, thank you again for the support. They say, will the pictures be a bit better when taken by people on board instead of the remote camera? Oh, I think absolutely. I mean, they have really nice cameras on the ISS. I imagine they'll be traveling with nice cameras on Orion as well. And we'll get some
those
really
big like lenses.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll see if the Hasselblads make their return as well. Sorry, from a camera geek side, I still love the old Hasselblads that were used during Apollo.
Why would you apologize for that? Don't apologize for that.
Okay, apology retracted.
Good. Yeah, keep it. Let's see here. Gunfox61, thank you for the super chat. We really appreciate all of the support from everybody. They say not to be a downer, but Orion still needs to actually the main test, which is testing the heat shield. When the last time they did this was 1970. Well, yeah, that's fair. That is one of the, I forget what NASA calls it. It's like a Series 1 objective or Tier 1 objective or something like that. Yeah, that is absolutely a thing. But I mean, I feel like a capsule heat shield is, I'm not going to say easy because it's not easy, but it's a known quantity. Like we've done capsules. Dragon is a capsule.
Priority one.
There have been many priority one. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There have been. Oh God, Philip is watching.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's been watching all the time. He's in back channel.
Yeah,
I'm too dumb. Yeah, so that's totally fair point, Gunfox.
I mean, the other big thing though, also, if you looked at the Apollo capsules, they used a ablative material entirely that was, I believe, asbestos based. So obviously that's not being used anymore. And we also have 50 years of advancements in heat shield technology with, I don't know, a certain vehicle with wings that had a reusable heat shield with tiles and blankets as well.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Orion uses those.
Right. It's using tiles. So that's the other thing.
It's just not using them on the main heat shield, but the back shield, I think it's called like that. Basically, the main heat shield at the bottom is obviously an ablative one, but the one on top, I believe it is actually reusable or like sort of like derived from the tiles on the shuttle, I think.
Just increasing the shuttle derived vibes.
Yeah,
I mean, but my dinosaur joke, and I'm mad now.
But it kind of makes sense because you not only have to protect the bottom of the capsule, that obviously gets the most heat, but also you got to protect the other part because as you come in, the plasma also goes around and the plasma radiates heat on the backside of the capsule, and so you need to protect that as well. And from being so out there, when you come back, that plasma even around it, it just, if you look at the Apollo capsule, for example, that was totally charred. But I think from the Orion that they sent on Exploration Flight Test 1, like in 2014, that didn't go all the way to the moon, but still it was a high reentry speed. And that one didn't look as charred, at least to me. I don't know. Maybe we'll see in a few weeks how Orion looks like.
Sawyer, what were you going to say?
As Philip mentioned here, it is the tiles, which is the kind of black looking part on the top. The part underneath is Avcoat, which is basically the same material that was used during Apollo. It's just the way that they applied it to this particular heat shield is different.
Oh wow, that was awesome. Can we see that again?
That's the launch escape system separation.
Everyone get the later nerds ready. There you go.
It needs I forget what song that is. That needs to be memeified like desperately. Martin Ripford, thank you for becoming a flight engineer. That is one of our higher levels of support. Is that our highest level? Yeah, flight engineer is higher than even launch
Flight
director.
engineer.
Thank you so much, Martin. Your name is going to get put at the end of NASASpaceflight Live episodes. That's your top tier perk. In addition to all the other perks like Discord access and the preview stuff and the behind the scenes stuff.
I'm not curious. Does it get added right away? I think we should ask Michael about that.
We talked about this recently. I think it does, but I'm not.
I remember
I'm not sure.
That was asked during the last one, and it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
it's automated then.
Oh, and Fernando Ferrer. Sorry, I'm probably butchering your name. Gifting 5 red team memberships. So if you just got a membership, thank Fernando in chat. Thank you so much to all of our members and our new members. We could not do this without you guys. Like literally. Let's see. Let's do some Artemis questions. How about while we look at this awesome rocket cam footage?
Let's.
That Michael is desperately looking for see the mouse. He's looking for it.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Speaking of the launch, it's interesting that we didn't get any question about the damage to the mobile launcher.
Oh, we did.
They also
right
talk
here.
about.
Robert is asking, has anyone seen the tower damage? We put out a flyover. We have a recent flyover where we talked about that damage. But I think the same day that we published
look at the plume.
It's beautiful.
Look, it almost reaches the beach at the north side of LC-39B, and people were wondering why don't they like people in the beach. It's like that's why.
Yeah, that's why Playa Linda was not a viewing option.
Exactly.
And it's like as much as I
from the whole thing.
As many waivers as I would sign to watch an SLS from Playa Linda from a safe distance, you're just gonna get plumed out until it's way up there. You know what I mean?
That too, yeah.
I didn't think of that until seeing that footage, but yes. But the same day we put out the flyover, NASA had a press conference and talked more about the tower damage. There was a couple not great things. The elevator doors were blown off. You can see it kind of looks a little bit melty there on the base of the platform, but thing is, they have plenty of time before the next one to fix it and mitigate any problems. There's the
elevator doors.
Yeah. Jeez. And I think they found one. Oh man, I think they found one door in the shaft and one they call it the infield of the launch complex. It was something like that. It was just like, wow, okay, it's a lot of force.
Mm-hmm. And I am just gonna put it out there because since neither Chris is on this call at the moment, but I know one of them may be watching, I'm just gonna throw STS-1 out there for anyone to think about, and that there was also a lot of unexpected damage. In fact, some elevator damage as well during that first flight of Columbia, the space shuttle program. So it's not totally unexpected, and they will certainly learn from it. But yeah, this was, I think, a little more than we had all thought it would be. Personally,
they thought they admitted, that it was actually more damage because It's a little bit weird because I've seen a lot of the reaction from people also being like, yeah, they just blew the doors off. It's okay. They'll fix that. There was more damage that they talk about on the conference. They talk about pipes burst and, floods and things like that from water and all that they didn't expect. It was damage that they didn't account for. Basically, they weren't expecting. Now, that is bad, but the key takeaway from here is that they have plenty of time, and this mobile launcher is going to be used for 2 more launches. Then they're going to be coming up with mobile launcher 2. All of these, all of these learnings are going to go into that design. They're going to be putting all of that. I believe, for example, the doors of the elevators, I think they are on the other side, so they might not get blasted, for example. So it's a whole different arrangement because this mobile launcher comes from the Ares I era. So
it also got roasted back then too.
But that was the other one. But that was the fixed service structure from the shuttle. That was a different thing. But yeah, this one comes from a whole different racket. So most of the systems on the tower, for example, in the mobile launcher, are just basically arranged from when it was designed for Ares 1. So when they actually make mobile launcher 2, it's going to be more SLS, like fully SLS center than that. And they have 27 months at least. Maybe more.
Look at the iPad. Alexa is live on Orion right now.
Yeah, talk about two
Oh,
A words that we're trying not to say on stream: Aries and Alexa.
That's cool. And you can see that on Space Coast Live. You can also go to like the NASA link or whatever. It was like a jumble of characters and watch it there. But you can also watch it on Space Coast Live where we're piping that feed in.
Right, because then you also get to see live views around the Kennedy Space Center and inside Port Canaveral from Fleet Cam too.
Exactly. So be sure to
Yeah.
check that out if you have not yet. Let's see. Where were we at? We were just on a long diatribe. Oh yeah,
We're talking about the
tower
damage.
damage. One thing I did want to mention is that on STS-1, they did not use those water bags that they sort of slung under the SRBs to absorb some of the acoustic like force at ignition. At least I don't think they did. And those were added at some point. I'm not quite sure when because I'm not Chris B or G, or you, Sawyer. But surely,
I think it
like,
was on the second one
there's
already.
mitigations that can be done to make this less bad. So not the hugest deal, but definitely worth noting.
The other thing also is just seeing that that shockwave coming from them too, right when they ignited before liftoff. And
yes,
I mean, we have some fantastic footage of that in the flyover video as well, talking about the damage, which is available on the channel too.
A little bit of behind the scenes. I didn't tell you to use Michael's GoPro footage, but you used Michael's GoPro footage as the opening shot, if I'm not mistaken. And that is some of the best footage of the shockwave that I've seen, and it was outstanding. And I didn't tell you to do it, but you did it. So
thanks, yeah. And then I slowed it down later when we were talking about it too, so you can really see it expand outward, which was a great shot by Michael there with that too. So
absolutely,
I had to use it.
That was killer. So if you have not seen that, that was actually, I don't think that clip was in our like, you know, the launch recap video we put out with like all the different views and Michael's slow-mo. I think if you want to see that, you need to either go on Twitter, where the quality is going to be butchered, or you're going to need to go watch the flyover. But what a cool shot that was.
Which is in 1080. So yeah, that one's good quality.
Speaking of intro, that should be also on our new intro, by the way. Just saying, because I know you're the guy in charge of that.
I'm so excited
It's cool. It's like
for new intro. I'm so excited, but it's extremely hard to edit and pick. I will use this shot. I will not, this beautiful shot that I have right here, I am not going to use it because you have to be very, very decisive. You only have like 45 seconds or something to show.
I'm just going to say,
it's got to be the
Falcon Heavy should be on it as well, because I'm disappointed it's not being on it for like 2 years.
Well,
so it should be.
I'll just do a gray screen for 3 seconds.
I was going to say, use USSF 44.
That's for a launch from Vandenberg.
So yeah, we'll have 2 gray screens, one for Vandenberg, one for USSF 44.
Okay,
side by side, just a gray screen with a white line down the middle, and then you can get both.
All right, fine. I'm being threatened in our back channel. All right, I guess I'm going to have to assemble a new intro before 2023. So you heard it here first. Breaking news. Let's do some Artemis questions, some more of them actually, because we're getting some good ones. Feisty Ferret is asking, with all these small sat launches and CubeSats, is low Earth orbit going to become too crowded and it could affect launches to deep space? Nah, space is a big place. I mean, there's the whole, what is it? Is it the Kessler syndrome? I'm completely...
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yay, brain.
Yeah, that's the name.
I have not had my coffee today. Forgive me. But yeah, the Kessler syndrome is a thing, but I don't think CubeSats and small sats are going to be the thing that potentially cause any sort of issues like that.
The other thing with those cubes and small sats is just that they're CubeSats, they're small sats, especially if they're in LEO. There's a good chance that they are going to be able to only have a lifespan of like a year or two before they deorbit and burn up. So that's the benefit. The good and the bad of the CubeSats is that they're small, they're tiny, and they don't last very long before they burn up.
The problem mostly, I think, it is coming from debris. Like we recently heard, I think it was at least 2 different stages that break up, that broke up in orbit. I think one was from an H2 rocket, and the other one was from a Long March rocket. So yeah, it's like that actually to me feels more of a danger than putting more satellites. Like if you're putting more debris up there, obviously these 2 were unwillingly. These just broke up because things happen, bad things happen to sometimes. and that kind of damage is actually more of a risk to me than something that is in one piece. You can track, you've launched, you know where it is, and you continually communicate with it, and at least it feels to me like it is less of a risk than something that is just it blows up, it leaves a bunch of pieces up there in space, and you know all of the pieces go in different directions, and you may be able to track all of them or maybe not, and then that's actually sort of the danger of the Kessler syndrome, that you may have all of these debris or things like that, then collides with another satellite or whatever, and then it creates more debris and blah blah blah. It's like a waterfall effect.
Nicholas with the inevitable question about the toilet on board Orion. I mean, people always want to know about the toilet. Is there even one? I know that there's limited eclipse on there. And have we heard anything about it if there is one?
I don't believe there's one that's usable, at least for Artemis I, because unless the Moonikins have an added feature that we don't know about, most of them are just an upper torso anyway. So there's kind of that problem. But in terms of the actual one that will work with people on board, it's going to be very similar, I would assume. Yeah, there is none, Philip says, on this particular one. So for the future flights, it will probably be similar to what was used on Station, on Shuttle, and on Dragon. That same type of small little corner of it where you can go to, and there's a system set up that involves the systems. I'm trying to think how to put this nicely.
Air pressure?
Yeah,
Suction?
It's not so much a
Suction?
vacuum, but imagine it kind of like a vacuum, for a lack of a better way to describe it.
Negative pressure.
Yeah, which there totally wasn't a time on a space shuttle mission where they had to use Canadarm because they were going to eject the liquid biological material, and it froze on the way out and kind of got stuck on the ejection port. So they had to use Canadarm to literally knock it off. And there may have been a little bit of liquid ice that has some color to it floating around. So if you saw a shooting star, there's a chance that you may not have been wishing on a shooting star. You may have been wishing on astronaut pee. So.
Oh my god! I think you might win the award for craziest things said on a NASA Spaceflight Live episode. But
it is a legit story, though.
I'm not. I'm not mad. Should we add that to our space fails list?
Yes.
Let's see here. Good question. Alex, you can't be doing that. You can't be typing that.
Magnetal things we can't say on air.
I like breaking kayfabe or whatever over here. Like I can't. Focus.
Is it all good though?
I'll put it on chat just so people don't miss it.
What Logan is asking, what temperatures will Orion expect during reentry? Trying to keep it on the rails here. I'm trying to keep things on the rails. What sort of temperatures will Orion expect during reentry? And this is the point where I look at Discord, I try not to laugh at what Alex typed, and I wait for Philip to say the answer to the question. Unless
I believe approximately 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit is the expected reentry temperature at its hottest.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of remember that, but I don't know what it is in Celsius. See, I use Celsius. I don't really know what 5,000 Fahrenheit, whatever that is. But because they repeat it all the time, because it's NASA, so they use Fahrenheit for whatever reason. So they say 5,000 Fahrenheit. So it's like, that's the number that I have in my mind.
That is approximately 2,760 degrees Celsius.
Nice.
Okay.
There we go. Good question, Logan.
See, now people are also laughing about that joke.
Yeah, you got me.
That was too good.
You got me good. Ross with the good questions today, asking, will Artemis II fly the same distant retrograde orbit as Artemis I, or is it going to do the near rectilinear halo insanity?
Neither.
It's going to be a flyby.
Yep.
It's not going to enter orbit around the moon. It's just going to be going basically a loop.
Yeah, essentially Apollo 8 without any orbital portions.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Or
Okay,
like
there's
an Apollo
there's a new
13, but without the failure.
there's a new poll, but I'm not even going to go
Hopefully.
through the options. Just ignore the poll. Just ignore. I don't know what Crispy is doing there.
Wait,
There.
what?
Rails.
That's what you're
There's
calling it?
rails. Keeping it on the rails.
Come up with a better name. Come on.
Brett is asking, is there any reason why every capsule looks so utilitarian except for SpaceX? Are there requirements that SpaceX doesn't have to follow, or do they just love aesthetics? I think they place a higher priority on how things look as well as how they function, I think is the answer there. Would either of you agree or disagree?
There's also aspects in terms of the size of the capsule. For example, the Orion and Starliner look similar because they kind of have a similar diameter, whereas because the Starliner one, if you look at the full stack with Atlas, it needs like the air skirt and an adapter because it's wider than the Centaur upper stage, whereas the Dragon capsule, it's the same diameter as Falcon 9, which is not a huge diameter, to be honest. So instead, what they do is they make it taller. And so instead of being like more like a kind of a small, like a short but wide capsule, they make it more like thinner but taller capsule. So the look of it kind of looks different in that way. But the whole concept of the functions and everything, it's sort of the same at the end of the day. Like I was talking before about the Orion back shell, for example. Dragon also has a back shell. It needs a heat shield on the non-windward side, so to speak, because it also sees that plasma heating from the sides as well. So and Starliner also uses that as well. I think it also uses some of the shuttle technology, some of the I think it is the tiles. It was not the tiles. It's the other ones that the shuttle used.
The
The
thermal
ones that
blanket?
there we go. The thermal blankets. Thanks, Sawyer.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it looks that Starliner and Orion are similar because of that shape. I think the main issue here, well, not issue, but like the main difference here is probably the shape. That Dragon is more like, why make a wider capsule? You can just, instead of making a weird adapter or something like that, you could just make the capsule so that it fits more within the same diameter. And so that's sort of how they do it.
And then
Which,
the other difference too
decisions.
is the flight you're talking about as well. I mean, when it comes to, Crew Dragon, most of them are about 24-hour flights to the ISS. And of course, there's also private missions like Inspiration 4 and Polaris that will do their own thing, that will spend 3 to 5 days on their own in low Earth orbit and come back. Whereas something like Orion, you're talking weeks at a time. That's just going to be the capsule and the service module all the way out towards the moon, coming back, maybe sometime at Gateway. So you need a vehicle that is a little bit more crew comfortable for that amount of time, that can also withstand all of the extra added harshness as you go beyond the Van Allen belts. So I think that's part of it as well. The difference between something like a Crew Dragon and an Orion is what their primary mission objective is. It's kind of built more sturdy, more industrial in that sense, whereas SpaceX can go slightly more aesthetic based off of their mission profile.
Cool deal.
Yep.
Last one up for Artemis. Gwen is asking, is the European service module left in a graveyard orbit, or does it burn up in the atmosphere?
Burn up. Yep. It comes back and, they separate before the reentry, obviously. Otherwise, the capsule just makes some kind of... I think there was a couple of Soyuz missions where that happened, where the service module got tangled there and didn't separate from the capsule. That was a little bit icky, but yeah, it separates before the reentry and just burns up.
Did you say it was a little bit icky?
Yeah, because imagine being inside of the Soyuz and being tumbling instead of, re-entering actually the way that you need to re-enter.
You're right. That does sound icky.
Yeah.
That's a word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, NASA is allowed to call anomalies funnies, so why
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's a funny.
Some more super chats. Westy the Third, thank you so much. They say, my usual Sunday contribution. Watching Artemis 1 really felt like the defining of a new era, and it was a pleasure to share it with all the NSF community. Thank you so much, Westy. That's very sweet of you to say. That was one heck of a launch. Isaac, thank you for the support there. They say, what is the near future for Falcon Heavy launches, and what can we expect more information? Alex, go.
Okay, well, the next launch is probably going to be the USSF 67 launch. That's currently scheduled for January. Then after that, Viasat 3, January, February of next year. Then after that, it's a little bit blurry. It might be that's the EchoStar 24 mission, another USSF mission, and after that, I think it is Psyche, like all the way to October 2023. So that's a short rundown of the upcoming Falcon Heavy missions.
Thank you for that. John M. Bebel is asking, what are the two symbols between the two windows inside Orion? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I think it is the Morse code thing that is vertical. I think that is Charlie.
Got it.
Maybe Michael can pull that up if he can, but yeah, I think it says Charlie. I don't know why it says Charlie. I have no idea. Maybe because of the launch director, maybe from Charlie Duke was an astronaut during the Apollo missions. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it is for Charlie Blackwell Thompson, who was the launch director.
That's
I
so
don't
cool.
know. It's might be because of that.
Gunfox, thanks for the support. They say Freedom Units, best units, and Stefan, thank you for the support.
I disagree.
No, I agree. He's right. Stefan says, Jack, you can still be the first to smoke bacon on the moon. I would do it. I would do it. Like, make a solar oven and then do a solar oven bacon. It'd be amazing.
Sorry, but how did we make it this long? And this is the first bacon reference?
No, I said bacon earlier. I don't know if that counted,
good.
but we're good. No, we're set. We've done shuttle. We've done bacon. Horse is good.
Cool. Just making sure everyone gets their bingo card set.
Yeah, Aries one bad.
I talk about Falcon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So, I mean, let's move on to the next big rocket topic. Other than SLS and Artemis 1, let's talk about Starship, which is, of course, part of the Artemis program. Lots going on in Starbase. Holy cow. I mean, just nonstop work on the concrete and orbital launch mount there. It appears that they are doing a significant amount of work just getting things sort of repaired. I don't know, Alex, do you have anything you want to hit right off the top here as I look for some questions? If you have any questions about Starship, throw them in chat. And
yeah, it got hit hard during that 14-inch static fire test. They also had two. They were very unlucky. Let's put it that way, because after the static fire test, and it threw up a lot of concrete and everything, and then they were trying to do the repairs, and then a huge storm came by. We called it Stormbase on our latest Starbase video, because it kind of was like that for over a week. It was raining, wind all the time. They set up a tent even out there at the launch site just to be able to to do all of that work. As well, they're still covering some of those panels on the legs of the orbital launch mount. They've also installed cladding on the tower. I believe that's okay. Well, we're talking about the legs, so he's showing. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm kind of trying to go with the pictures I was showing. You can see there the cladding. First, they installed that box on the lower left. That's where the pipes of the tank farm go up into the tower. They go like up and then inside of the tower.
Yep.
And then also again up, and they installed cladding on that side. I believe since that picture they also installed on the other side to the left here.
Yeah, it's nice to see, because it's one of those questions we've been getting for a long time now. Like, it used to be we would get questions every live stream about, are they going to build another road, or are they going to, it's one of those really common questions. Like, is the tower ever going to be, looking more like the tower at 39A? and this looks like the start of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how it all looks, or even if they're gonna paint like the bits that don't show up, that basically are not clad or anything like that. Are they gonna paint that? How is that gonna look like? It's gonna be interesting to see that. But yeah, they're kind of preparing that for the long-awaited orbital launch. That
Speaking of, there's a new poll. New poll.
That's why I said that.
Yeah.
You know?
Stack launch. Do you think it's going to be December, or January, February, or later? I'm just going to be completely transparent here. Hopefully, I don't bias the results too much. I said later.
Yeah.
What happened to that whole? Oh yeah, we'll launch the anniversary of Falcon Heavy in February.
That's Thomas. That's
yeah. We got
that's
to.
none
I
of
got to
us.
throw Thomas's.
That's Thomas.
Thomas's line in there for his sake.
All right. I mean, I hope so. I would obviously rather see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah. But let's be honest, there's a lot of work to be done. Well, I think all of us want to see this as soon as possible, but obviously there's a ton of work left to do. They're still working on the OLM. They still have issues with the concrete underneath. They need to keep doing more tests. Elon talk about a 20-second engine a static fire test to prove the heterogeneous pressurization system on Super Heavy. So like 20 seconds, how many engines is that going to be even? Like it's going to be a lot of concrete probably that are going to pull up again. And if they need to resurface again all that concrete after every single static fire test, or if they keep having that problem, it's going to be something that I'm going to keep working on. Obviously eventually if it's too problematic,
if only there was some kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know.
flame trench,
this is gonna sound
flame
wild,
diverter,
like some sort of device that could say divert the flame that comes out of a rocket engine.
Oh,
so
that's a clever idea.
If you divert the flame, this sounds crazy, but like you divert the flame and it doesn't just spall concrete with raw thrust and necessitate you having to resurface your launch pad after every single engine firing. I don't know. That just seems
maybe a specific trench that does divert. That is that kind of diverter for the flame. Yeah.
Yes. Like you don't even have to divert it with a trench. It could just go in the trench.
Like a rump.
Yeah, like a flame trench. I think that's a novel idea. Yeah. Wow. We did it, everybody. Congratulations.
Yes, we solved the problem.
Oh man. Speaking of all of that, though, Chris Larimer with a really interesting question that I am not smart enough to answer, but I mean, I'm going to ask it anyways. They're saying, does Starship get any kind of kinetic advantage by firing against a flat surface instead of a trench diverter? I'll tell you what does get a kinetic advantage: the concrete.
I was just going to say that.
It flies off.
Yes, that's the joke.
All the dust also, like it clouded the whole tower.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's more about the exhaust coming out of the nozzles at a velocity rather than it pushing against something, and that's not how rockets.
Yep. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's the equal and opposite reaction part of good old Newton.
Yeah, in this house we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Not voluntarily.
You can see the storm footage that Alex was talking about here too.
Yeah,
it was no joke. It was no joke. Sorry, Alex, I completely interrupted you with stupidity, but you can continue if you've got more.
No, yeah, go ahead whenever you want to say something like that. But yeah, the other thing that I was gonna say, we're talking now about the poll, about the orbital launch. But I'm gonna say I'm not even thinking we might see a 33 engine static fire this year itself, because again they need another static fire test. At least that's what Elon said, that they were gonna be doing another static fire test. They're doing a lot of work as well on ship 24. Maybe if we can see that here, they put a whole like scaffolding around ship 24. I sometimes joke that this is probably one shot will, because there were reports that now she's like handling the whole program right now there at a Starbase, and I kind of joke that she might not like the lifts going up there all the time, but yeah, the scaffolding goes all the way up to the payload bay door on the ship. So yeah, and we can see here on the heat shield side, they've been working on the heat shield tiles as well. They removed them, and they seem to be putting some reinforcements on the welds between the rings. So it's kind of interesting in that sense, because that might come up maybe as as a result of some of the testing that they've been doing with the can crusher kind of thing that they have at Remedios, and yeah, you can see there some of that work as well. They've been doing that, those I don't know how they're named. Geez, they're
Well, they're like
reinforced
zigzags.
on the wells.
They're
Yeah,
like
there we go.
zigzags. I don't know what you want to call them, but
Yeah, that's the scientific term.
thank you.
But yeah, you can see there that they've been reinforcing those welds, and maybe they'll be covering that up. But that sort of adds some more strength to the fact that they're gonna fly this vehicle, because if you weren't flying this vehicle, even if it's broken or you need fixes or whatever, you just put it back on the you send it to the rocket garden and just roll the next one.
Yeah,
But this
SpaceX
one
has no qualms
Yeah,
about doing that. They've
exactly.
they've done it many times, and ship 20 ship 25 is just hanging out in the high bay getting worked on. So it's
Mhm.
not like they don't have an alternate, but
Exactly.
certainly appears like 24 is going to be the
You got
one.
engines as well, so we might see that rolling by. The only problem with Ship 25 though is that in order to be able to do a static fire test, it will need suborbital pad B. I think I wrote that on the latest article that I wrote, that it will need suborbital pad B, but that's where Ship 24 is located, and there's scaffolding and things like that. So it's obviously not coming off anytime soon. So for any sort of static fire test of Ship 25, that's gonna be taking a little bit more time, unless the retrofit pad A for static fires. But
Right now pad A is set up for
yeah.
pressure testing, right?
Exactly, yeah, and pad B was also fitted at one point, at least, with like concrete and everything underneath to be able to do the static fire test. Pad A, I don't think it actually has the proper concrete and
Oh.
setup underneath.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
wait
Bert.
for
Hey.
this. Okay, bear with me here. This is completely off topic. This heron did the best thing I've ever seen an animal do on camera in this daily video. It's not this shot. It's going to cut to a different shot where it's walking at the camera. Here we go. Okay.
It didn't do exclamation point bird, what it normally does in that command.
No, thank goodness. Okay, wait, watch. I mean, this is going to take a second, but I'm going to narrate it because I think it's amazing. It just casually walks towards the camera, and then it's going to move to the left and walk out of frame. But watch what its head does. It's the most amazing thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just losing my mind, but I immediately I saw this, and I'm sorry I had to derail everything you were just saying. Okay, wait, here we go.
Boing.
Watch what it does. Watch what it does. What is that? What is that move?
And this has been Jack's Wildlife Nature documentary series here on
thank you.
NSF.
Oh my god! It's like
There we go.
I can't even. That was amazing.
It's just like me. It just wants to stay on camera no matter what.
Yeah. That was too good. Anyway, sorry, Alex. Please continue.
No, yeah, that's why I said I don't mind you interrupting me for those things, but yeah, they have all that scaffolding around Ship 24. They've been working obviously on new vehicles as well. We've seen them rolling today, like just today, a few hours ago. We saw them rolling the nose not the nose cone section, but more like the upper section of Ship 26 all the way to the high bay. So maybe in a few days we're gonna see another ship built completely. But Ship 26 is that kind of weird ship that
Finless or flapless.
Yeah, without flaps, without TPS tiles. It's gonna be weird. There's also a set of new nose cones as well. Is that live? I think it's live, right?
I'm not
or
sure.
is one of the
It
Yes,
is.
that
okay,
is
it's
live.
live. It's live. So you can see there the high bay on the left, and then on the mega bay on the right, that's booster 9 there, but they also have been working on booster 10 as well. And on the bottom right there, you can see one of the nose cones. I believe that one is Ship 29's nose cone. And that one, we haven't seen any TPS as well on that one. So Ship 26, no TPS, no flaps. Ship 27, well, Ship 26 doesn't even have a payload bay. So it's just like empty there.
Maybe it'll
Ship
be used as like
27,
a propellant transfer demo or something
maybe.
like that. That's something that's got to happen in the coming months and years.
Exactly. Yeah. That's some of the theories there as well. Then Ship 27 doesn't have flaps, doesn't have TPS, but it does have payload bay with like it kind of looks like a new pest dispenser kind of thing. And door and all that. We'll see once it is actually more complete how it ends up looking. Then Ship 28 has TPS, has flaps, so it's once again, nice and tidy, all the traditional Starship looks. But then Ship 29's nose cone is out there, and it doesn't really have more like they haven't installed any of the tile system things, and it's out there and they're working on it. So we'll see what happens to it, but might be another expendable Starship kind of thing. They
Cool
might
deal.
be mixing some of these expendable within, the reusable ones. We'll see how that all works.
I mean, there's so many Starship variants, and for a long time now, we've been wondering when they were going to start working on them, and it appears that very thing has happened.
And maybe eventually one of these will go to
Kennedy Space Center.
to the Cape. Yeah, that's exactly the segue that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing at the Kennedy Space Center they've been progressing with the Star Factory, for example, but the high bay or mega bay there at the Cape hasn't really gone through a lot of it's just not up. It's still there like in pieces, but and the cranes are kind of ready for that.
Yeah,
But
it stands in contrast to
doubt.
what's happened with the Star Factory there.
Yeah.
That has gone up at seemingly a very rapid pace, whereas the high bay,
Yeah, you can
mega
see
bay,
there.
whatever you want to call it, yeah, it's looked like that for a good minute now.
Yeah.
It appears that they have everything sort of there and laid out, or a lot of things either way, and they just have not yet started to assemble it. Though some of those crane mats are new. I noticed since the previous flyover, so they're getting set up for crane work. But yeah, I kind of expected that structure to have been further along by now.
And more tower segments as well. But something interesting from this that we mentioned also on the flyover video, if you want to watch that, you gotta check that out because we go into more details on here. But you can see there's new concrete stands for building new tower segments. And the interesting part of that is they already have, so each tower, at least so far, has been 9 segments. Yes, 9 segments. and so they already have 9 stands for all of them. There's like 5 and then 4 of them. And now they've added 2 more. So are they going to build like a longer tower? Like, is it going to be, yeah, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Michael with the Michael art.
There's the art.
4. No, that's not the 5. The 5 is the other one up there. 9, 10, and 11. There's another one up there. Next to the 4. There we go. Okay. Well, those 9 and 10, not in order, but yeah. 9 and 10 are the new ones. So now there are 11. Is it going to be a taller tower? Are they going to building another tower? Like, are going to have like 2 towers? How's that going to work? It's kind of weird, but we're definitely be looking for any more clues as to what happens with that.
I sort of expected them to build. Okay, so Starbase was supposed to have 2 towers. The second one kind of got put on hold for various reasons.
Lord of the Rings moment.
But it
thinking that, yeah.
But it might if it ever actually gets built, I always sort of expected them to build the segments in Boca Chica again like they did for the first one. But at this point, with all of these pads, I'm sort of wondering, like, is this just now where they build tower segments and they'll ship them wherever they need to, however they need to? I don't know if that's even possible, but why could they possibly need so many little foundations for so many tower sections? Or maybe they're just...
they already have enough for a whole tower, considering that it's assembled at 39A.
Yep.
Now you've got this one, and if there's already work potentially for a third, where is it going to go? It can't really go at Slick 40. So you'd have to get a whole more, either build a new pad or, lease one of the other pads that's already over at the Space Force side.
Yep.
Yeah, we know they certainly planning a lot of them.
Maybe they got like a buy one get two free kind of deal, and they just like, why not? Why not? We'll build them now.
Almost like Black Friday deals we had at shop at NASASpaceflight.com.
Mobile launcher 2 for NASA. Just to actually get it done.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it's fascinating to see where they're going, and almost like, how are they finding space to store all of this too? It's starting to feels like Roberts Road area is big, but they're running out of room for all these tower segments now.
It was many flyovers ago, but we talked about an expansion to the north that they were planning, I think is what that was. So maybe at some point we'll see them start clearing more land once they start getting
hopefully
crunched for space.
Crunch for space.
Let's see. Musical Wolves, thanks for the support. They say, is Super Tower more reinforced than SLS's tower? I didn't realize we were calling it Super Tower. I figured it would probably be called Star Tower, but really Mechazilla is what everybody calls
no more
it.
Star stuff.
No, everything's Star stuff. Star everything. Star Alex, Star Jack, Star NSF Live. I don't know.
We got to start switching back to like the old days now, to the pound sign instead of the star on your phone. Use the pound on your phone.
Okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm on board. Musical Wolves, I don't know if it's more reinforced. It certainly looks more beefy because it has to catch vehicles, so I don't know if you want to call that reinforced, but. And Gunfox, thank you for the support. They say a 33 engine test fire might cause damage to the booster underside, including the engines from the blowback. Water can only do so much. Yeah, we saw that with SN8. They took a shard of Martite to a hydraulic line, and they lost control of the vehicle, or maybe it was an avionics line, something like that. But that was a whole deal that happened.
And
totally
that's even
plausible.
Probably with their upgraded fire suppression system, which I recall it's not totally fully water that they're planning on using for the full tests, right?
It's like water and nitrogen. It's like water aerosolized by high pressure nitrogen or something. But I do wonder if at some point they'll, because again, at Kennedy Space Center, they have that deluge ring base of the orbital launch mount that they installed. They don't have that at Starbase. So I wonder if they'll do some sort of ad hoc like revision to the one at Starbase to add something that is equivalent or can do similar things, or some sort of flame type. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, I would say that we're digging this one into the ground, but they didn't do that. So
I mean, I can understand their design philosophy for this, because building a trench in Boca Chica, like, you gotta dig down.
You're basically just digging into the ocean at that point.
Exactly.
We've all made big holes at the beach as we're digging, and digging, and then the water starts to it's a whole thing.
So you need to build up. But yeah, once you build up, they had a previous design from 2019 where it was like a regular stand up thing. Like, it was also like a giant kind of launch pad, 30 meters up from the ground or something like that, but it had like a huge flame diverter on the side. It was actually water cooled, so any damage from the heat, it was just like, it has cooling loops and things like that inside. They have that at 39A and pad 40, so they already used that for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. So it wouldn't be unprecedented. It will be just like bigger, and I guess maybe with the experience that they have for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, they might thought, maybe if we can do away with this, this part is no part, and then they went with the current design that we've seen. But I think that's probably how they went with that.
Yeah, Paul Kelly in chat says "dig up, stupid," which is a delightful Futurama reference, or maybe that's Simpsons.
That's the Simpsons.
Okay,
Yep.
Thanks. So they like basically are merged in my brain. Speaking of in my brain, I'm like all over the Black Friday sales and whatnot. And speaking of, we have a merch store with a Black Friday sale that's going on for, I think, until Monday. Either way, the sale is ongoing. There's various different bundles and whatnot that you can get. There's the metal prints, of course. In fact, there's metal prints with Artemis goodness. If you're feeling the Artemis vibe, an SLS launch. There's all kinds of stuff. There's hoodies. I think there's a deal where if you get 3 hoodies, you get a discount there. So
20% discount
off. So all kinds of cool stuff in the store. I'm wearing a Raptor Wrangler shirt. Alex, are we twinning
Same.
right now? Hey,
Yep.
Sawyer, man, you didn't get the memo. You were, come on. And also
I got 3 hoodies.
We're going to be removing a bunch of stuff from the. Oh, I think you might be muted.
I wore mine to the launch yesterday. That's why.
Talking
So it's
about
in the
muted.
laundry.
Okay, fair. I'll allow it then. Also, we're taking a bunch of stuff out of the store, and kind of clearing things out and getting ready for all the cool things in 2023. So, if there's something that you like or a design that tickled your fancy in the past, but you have not yet gotten a hold of, get it now and be happy that you got it, because their stuff is leaving the store and this is your chance. So do it, and don't send me DMs on Twitter being like, "But I didn't get the thing." I'm get the thing. There's a Christmas sweater. The Christmas sweater is amazing. All kinds of Easter eggs on the Christmas
sweatshirts
sweater.
are fantastic. Which, by the way, that will be my next merch. I will have one of the Christmas sweatshirts, so
nice.
I will represent it. And by the way, we were talking about this yesterday during CRS 26. But if you live somewhere in a really hot climate like I do, and you pretty
also
much would
comes
just use
in
this
t-shirt form.
Exactly, yeah. So that way it'll work for the mosquitoes with the long sleeves, and then will work to just be an awesome shirt for the short sleeve version too.
I'm on board. I'm 100% on board. We should do a tank top with that design. I'm kidding.
You can wear the sweatshirt on like night launches like we have had recently.
I will be wearing it to Hakuto R. That is the plan.
Excellent. Oh yeah, and there's the calendar.
Yeah.
So all kinds of merch.
Jack, if we do a tank top, what kind? Lux tank top?
Sorry, were you here for the tank top madness? Do you get the reference? I forget.
I was not. I don't think.
Oh my god. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it.
Later, for sure.
I'm still mad we didn't do an SLS tank top.
We should have.
Say.
We really should have. But yeah, Starbase
that would
calendar.
be a problem because then it would leak before it got to tank topics.
Stop it. Starbase calendar exists. General rocketry calendar exists. There's 2 calendars. If you're indecisive and you don't know what print you want to get for your wall, get 12 prints in the form of a calendar. In fact, get 24 because there's 2 calendars, and if you get both, you get a discount. All right, merch plug complete. You can check that off the list there. Cool. Well, thanks for watching this week, everybody. We super appreciate all the support from the super chatters. Even if you just hit like to get Crispy to do another wacky poll, we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you coming out whenever we do a stream and hanging out with us. And of course, we most appreciate we do specifically the 2 top tiers, our launch directors and our flight engineers.
I cannot even read that.
Thank you both so much. I'll make the joke I make every time, which is we need a high frequency burst, like a high frequency data burst where it's all of the names recorded, but then sped up to like 1,000%. And we'll just play the burst. Because the text is getting mighty small there, but
so many people.
It's a good problem to have. We need this support to be able to do what we do, to be able to keep the lights on, keep everybody fed and paid, and keep all the robots fed and paid. and more
especially during storms.
the data plans paid, and not only all of that, but we're constantly trying to look for ways to up our game and improve what we do and bring you guys new and exciting things. So to members, you are the ones who enable that with your monthly contributions and support. So important. Thank you so much to all of our members and all of our new members from this stream. You guys rule. Okay, I think that's about it for this week. Am I forgetting anything? Question mark. No, I don't think I am. Cool. Well, Alex, thanks for joining us this week.
Always a pleasure. And well, bird version, because the last time I didn't have one, so I was like, I'm not gonna shave for this one. I know we had a poll earlier about that, but
people were very appreciative of your beard. I think it's a look.
I don't really like it, but yeah, just leave it there.
And Sawyer, thank you for bearding with us today.
Absolutely. I was hoping there'd be a little bit more love for what we should have called the Sawyer scruff, but
Hey.
Hey, all the love is appreciated and all the support is appreciated. So thank you, everybody, and especially in particular to those who voted for me in the poll, but to everyone else too.
Cool deal. And of course, I'm Jack Beyer. I'm the guy with the beard who loves bacon. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Toggling up. Roger roll, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight outside SCE off. Say again, SCE off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.